Happy Tuesday, everybody. We've got a packed show again today. King K Day. Do you know what state you do, Julie? Don't say. But else can figure where King K Day is. Bravo Zulu to two young champions. A nice couple of Rolex videos we're going to show you. The New York Vendée, as expected, we have the runner-up and the winner. Coaching corner, we got, of course, John Emmett as usual. We have an AAAA from Mr. President Alistair Murray. It's a cool one. We're, of course, featuring the Finn World Championships, the Masters World Championships going on in Punta Ala in Italia. 52 Super Series is underway in Newport. Two races today, pretty light conditions we've been watching. America's Cup update and more. Welcome. Pierre de Jong, I was the first one on. He's down in SoCal. At least he was on my list first, Julia.
Yes, and Ed Worley second, and Peter Taylor.
Another Southern Californian, and Ed Worley. Peter Taylor in New York City. Gordon Smith, as usual, on here promptly from Denmark.
Those guys get to tie for first most of the time.
They do indeed. Joe Holtzman is up in Estes Park, Colorado, where it's nice and warm, he says. Nice day here in the
marina, yes.
Yeah, in the marina anyway.
Yes.
But it's cold. Your heat was on this morning.
Was it?
Yeah, I felt the wall, the pipes going up there from the...
Well...
It's cold.
Somebody left my windows open all night.
Not me.
No.
Bob Walker in Texas, Alan Long in Ohio. Lots of folks on here. David James, the Danes are often there first.
Oh, yes, indeed.
And David, of course, I can't talk, Julia, is from across the bay. Welcome, everybody. Show number 717 for Tuesday, the 11th of June. I'm your host, Tom Eamon. And along with me, of course, is the Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club, Julia Vedekint, also the coordinating producer of this show. And we are live once again from Studio B, and it will not be long, Julia, until we are at show 750.
Yes, 750,000.
A million? 1,000 anyway.
Yeah.
And we can stop at maybe 750.
Yeah.
Or stop at 1,000 or stop at 2,000.
We could do whatever we want, which is the nicest thing.
We're too old. I am anyway. You can carry on. Steve Gruber says it went as fast as I ever have in a Thistle on Saturday in Nyack, gusting to 30, running square. Well, I hope you were not square. Those boats are a little squirrely when it's square, having raced a lot, done a lot of racing in Thistles as a kid and beyond. Gordon Smith, they're all checking in. Navy blue hulls are pretty. Boats, Julia, should be either navy blue
or white,
right? A Commodore at the New York Yacht Club, he's long gone now, but he had a boat that was green, and it was scandalized the club. Scandalized the club. Bravo Zulu. We start right off here with a Bravo Zulu in what is the coolest video I have seen about sailing and introducing young people to sailing ever. Enjoy this.
Wow.
Bravo Zulu.
Is there a single greater thing you can teach an 8, 9, or 10-year-old than to sail solo? Name me another activity that teaches geometry, mechanics, and physics while showing a small child that the mind always matters more than brute strength, and that size and gender are irrelevant to success. A sport where the playing field of wind and water mutates with every race to remind them that nature is ever dynamic, yet enforces rules of right-of-way, sportsmanship, and marine safety. Lessons that train them to assemble complex sails and rigging, wash their own clothes, and not panic when capsizing. Lessons that teach them to trust their judgment, take responsibility for their decisions, and not to blame anyone, anything else other than themselves. A lifestyle that begins with a love for the water and ends with a wizard-like ability to read its secret language of waves, clouds, currents, and the predictable movement of a boat. Sailing is a way of seeing the world without a digital screen.
Now that came, I think, from Portugal because I saw the Cascais.
Yeah.
I think I saw their branding behind it at the start of that video. But that is from a Facebook page called Segel Leben, which you will know what that means in German.
Yes.
Sailing Love. And it is courtesy of Matt Suzuki who sent that in. Matt, of course, from the Bay Area, at least he was here for a while, and now living in France with his wife and family. And I just thought that
It was perfect.
was, Alistair Murray agreeing it's a superb video. I don't think we've ever aired it here on this show before. I've seen similar things, but
Yeah.
that was the best.
Yeah, the language in that also was perfect.
It really was superb. Thank you, Matt Suzuki, for sending that through. Tier de Jong says, yes, applause. Superb video indeed. Now, this is more because Rolex is such a superb sponsor of our sport. And what's happened since our last show on Friday was these two superb championships at Roland Garros in Paris. The men's and the women's winner. We start with the women. Three in a row at Roland Garros. It just astonishing, both of those championships, both the women's and the men. Here's the men's.
Yeah.
Carlos Alcaraz from España is stunning first at Roland Garros, but nice videos from our favorite, I think our favorite sponsor, aren't they?
Yeah, mine.
Superb.
Yeah.
And those champions are, it's a change of, it's a sea change.
Yes.
It's a generational change, really, in tennis, I think.
Yes.
And the question now is, can Iga and Carlos, the big question facing them is, can they now carry on at Wimbledon on the grass
Oh, yes.
in just a couple of weeks? And we'll be watching. It's a fabulous sport. The commentary, Julia, they don't sit there and blast away at you. Yeah, like Formula One. We watched Formula One from Montreal on Sunday as well. And they blast away. They get a little carried away.
Yes, they do.
But tennis and golf and sailing, to my mind, tell me if I'm wrong,
Are quiet sports.
you can pause, take a breath. Watching the TP52s, the 52 Super Series in Newport this morning, they had two races.
Beautiful.
And the commentary was very, very calm, very collected, quite nice. The way our sport should be, like tennis and golf. Bravo Zulu to these two kids. They are kids. Fabulous tennis, if you watched it and enjoy that sport. Julia, what are we celebrating today?
I peeked.
You did. Well, you saw my shirt, too,
Yes.
which is what? What's this flag right
It's
there?
Hawaiian.
The Hawaiian state flag. So what is it we are celebrating today?
Statehood? No.
No.
King Kamehameha Day. Yes.
King Kamehameha Day, I learned to pronounce it that last night, on June 11th. It's celebrated every year. It's the only state with a king, as far as I know. I mean, you're our queen of California, aren't you?
Oh, and Hawaii too.
Oh, I know.
I mean, I'm the biggest advocate of it.
So that's what it is today. And King Kamehameha Day, a pretty big deal in Hawaii, falls on June 11th every year, celebrates the accomplishments of Kamehameha the Great. He's credited with uniting the Hawaiian Islands in 1810. A highly revered leader, Kamehameha is honored each year with numerous celebrations across the islands. Downtown Honolulu hosts one such celebration where hundreds of leis, at least 30 feet long, are draped over the 15-foot statue of the celebrated ruler. Other celebrations include parades, a plethora of floral arrangements, and of course the traditional Hawaiian Hulu. And Julia, here is a very brief video.
Other events this weekend attracting visitors and Kama'aina alike, the Kamehameha Floral Festival and other King Kamehameha Day events. And today on Hawaii Island, the celebration continues with a lei draping. It will be at the Kamehameha statue in Hilo, 5 p.m. Then tomorrow, a lei draping in Kohala at 8 in the morning, followed by a floral parade at 9 and Ho'olaulea at 11. King Kamehameha Day is tomorrow, June 11.
That video obviously shot yesterday for Good Morning Hawaii on their Channel 4. I thought we'd run that. And of course, there is the flag, which, you know, they were great admirers of the British royalty in Hawaii. And that's how they ended up with the king, and that's how they ended up with the Union Jack. As far as I know, it's the only Union Jack on a state flag in this country, right?
I think so.
Huh?
Yeah.
Regardless, Julia, to you and everybody else that may be celebrating it, happy King Kamehameha Day in Hawaii. It is a great sailing state.
It is.
And not quite as much offshore racing. There's still the race, the Transpac race that goes on. There used to be the Clipper Cup and other things at the end of the Transpac, sort of the way you had Fastnet race at the end.
Pacific Cup.
And you still have the Pacific Cup, which runs from here out to Hawaii in the alternate years. But the Transpac is the big kahuna.
Yes.
Huh?
Thank you. Oh, yes.
The big kahuna. What does kahuna mean?
God.
Is that what it is?
Sort of, yeah.
Come on, you practically grew up in Hawaii. You certainly
Well,
commute there every chance you get, right?
Yep.
Hawaii was the scene of the only battle between two forces with a Union Jack on both of their respective flags. Gordon Smith knows these most amazing arcane facts.
Yes.
And Alan Long, congratulations to him. He's celebrating 5 bullets this past weekend
Good.
on his J111 Papa's Toy at Mentor Harbor Yachting Club, a fabulous club on the east side of Cleveland, where I have had the pleasure, along with Clark Chapin, of racing any number of times, and also downtown Cleveland at the Edgewater Yacht Club, which is very close to our good Fozy, Julie Ahrens.
Oh, good.
She likes that club. Kahuna means wise man or shaman.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're celebrating lots of things. Julie, I celebrate when I wake up in the morning. I'm just happy
I'm going to have to learn to do that.
to survive another day. And of course, we're also celebrating our dear Fozy, those of you who support us, especially via patreon.com. Become a patron at patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated, because that is what keeps us and our studio
Yes.
on the air, and we keep making little subtle changes. I haven't bought any equipment because I've been too poor, but maybe we get another 1 or 2 signers up,
Yep.
1 or 2 more patrons. We can update some more of our equipment, Julia.
Okay.
That's our feature today is, of course, the unbelievable turnout at the Finn World Masters in Punta Ala. We'll get to that in a moment, but before we do, let's update you on what was going on, what still is going on as the boats finish in the Vendée, New York, or the New York Vendée as they call it. But as we discussed on Friday, predicted, it was no mystery that Charlie Dallange from France, short of some breakdown, some massive, UFO came in and picked him up out of the water and pulled him away someplace. Yeah. He was going to win this, and he did in grand style by about, second place came in the middle of the next day on Sunday. He finished Saturday night. So here is the details of that. The skipper of the Verdier designed Imoca Massif Santé, Prévoyance, how do you say that, Prévoyance, broke the finish line off Les Sables d'Olonne on the French Atlantic coast off the Vendée region of France at 23:44, so just before midnight on a beautiful, mellow, early summer night. That was Saturday night. His elapsed time for the course is 10 days, 3 hours, 44 minutes and change since leaving the starting line which was set some 90 miles offshore of New York on Wednesday, the 29th of May. Between last Sunday and Monday, Germany's Boris Hermann, Herr Hermann on Malizia Sea Explorer, and Winter Dahlin were the only 2 solo skippers to break through a problematic low that we've been talking about.
Right.
That low pressure trough. As soon as they emerged into the brisk southerly breezes on the other side, the two of them, built up a big lead, which simply grew and grew whilst all their rivals were left languishing in the mixed-up air, unable to pass the weather hurdle, which was effectively moving east with them. And as you know, the two leaders had a different opinion, and the one, Charlie Delan, went more or less on the rum line. I know it's not strictly speaking the rum line, but it's this more or less straight line across.
Yeah.
And of course, Boris Herman went way north, anticipating some downhill sailing, maybe some wind behind him.
It seems like a really interesting thing to do. And
Well, he rolled the dice.
yeah.
Gordon Smith saying Boris's routing it seems to have turned out to be the clever choice. Well, it was vis-a-vis the rest of the fleet. We're back in Cleveland with Alan Long's comment. I want to get to that. Yes, and thank you. The beginning of Cleveland Race Week this coming weekend at Edgewater. They have 3 clubs in Cleveland, Julia. They've got Manor Harbor on the east side, Edgewater downtown next to Edgewater Park, which is an amusement park and more. And then out on the west side in Rocky River is the Cleveland Yachting Club.
Oh, good.
Cleveland Yachting Club.
I'm ashamed that I know very little about Cleveland.
Well, and, you know, it's a big industrial city, and it's gone kind of downhill like Detroit, although they're both coming back. Mm-hmm. They're both coming back. But back to our race, the New York Vendée. Let's read a little more here from Charlie Delan. I'm really happy. This is a quote, obviously. We won, and that's what counts. It was a great crossing. It feels good to win. It was the last rehearsal before next year's Vendée Globe, and so an important race to show the competition that I am here, I am present. I like that. I used the lessons from the outward race, meaning from France over to New York, particularly in my sleep and self-management. I found my level aboard this great boat in all conditions, upwind and downwind. It was a really great race. I had a lot of fun. That's always good too, right? Sail fast,
Absolutely.
sail safe, and have fun. It always happened 3 days. It all happened 3 days after the start of this leg, when that trough, he had the trough to cross, and then the front. I managed to pass while most were still caught up by the system. I managed to pass it, the trough, and not get blocked or sucked back into it. That's a good way of putting it. The wind shifted. I was on the right side. After that, it didn't matter much. So there was, right behind him, having gone way north, as we said a moment ago, was Boris Herman. Herman, who is from Hamburg, Germany, originally sails now for Monaco and Yacht Club de Monaco. Sailing Malizia Sea Explorer, he was second in the race. Germany's top ocean racer, Boris Herman, secured second place on the 3,200 nautical miles from New York to La Sable d'Olonne. Solo race across the North Atlantic when he crossed the finish line at 04:52 hours. He really caught up quite a bit on that big northerly flow coming downhill in all that breeze. So there he is. We like him a lot because not only does he speak English, and he usually does his videos in English, he can do them in German and French too, but he's also a real sportsman, as they all are, most of them are. Congratulations to Charlie. I've been lucky to sail a lot downwind, you think, and have had a great northern experience. I'm very happy to arrive this Sunday afternoon with the sun shining, to see everyone in the channel. It's magnifique. It's magnificent. Thank you to everyone for being here, for being in La Sable d'Olonne. Apparently there was a big turnout. The race village is open there, and it is a bit of a deal. What's that great shirt Boris put together one heck last track? And Philip laughing. I don't know if he's talking about his shirt or mine, but regardless of my shirt. Let's look at the video of his finish.
This coming in was really nice, with lots of boats around. On the drive along the shore, I had ghost foils down, and I was like wheelie mode all the way, easy, and then coming really fast from a hot ley line into the finish, and that was a bit exciting.
So welcome to Les Sables. Today the whole team is very united in Les Sables to welcome Boris because he gonna finish second, hopefully, of the race. So we're gonna meet him on the water.
Donc je répète, arrivée de Mélisien à 16h52, 32 secondes. Temps de course, 10 jours, 20 heures, 52 minutes et 32 secondes.
That's only in Les Sables D'Olonne that you have so many people looking at sailing. I'm super happy with the race, arriving second. Congrats to Charlie. What a fantastic race for him. And I couldn't have a better arrival than being here today with sunshine on a Sunday afternoon. Lots of people in Les Sables D'Olonne. We had this front that we needed to escape from. From that moment on, I thought the north route would be better for me. I doubted a little bit at some stage because it just looked crazy on the chart. I could have, of course, just kind of tagged and go behind Charlie, but I think for everyone it would have been a less exciting race, myself included. This race, we achieved what I was hoping for, to have confidence, to be quiet in the summer, to not doubt our choices. And so now we just service the boat a little bit, leave everything as it is, and then take the start of the boat.
Fantastic sport of ours, Julia.
Yes, indeed.
David James said it's nice to see a German having a good experience in the North. It's not always been so. He went to Stanford. He's clever, Julia.
Yes.
Nice stuff. And okay, before anyone criticizes me, don't blame Julia, but criticizes me for celebrating the second place boat more than the first place boat. We did read his quotes and so on from Charlie Delan. Mm-hmm. But again, the video's in French. And there wasn't even that much video. Boris turns out his own video on his YouTube channel, and I commend it to you.
Yeah.
He does a good job and always has, which is why he's become a favorite
Yes.
of ours.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Okay, now here's the rest of the pack from third down to 10th anyway. There's, I think, where there were 28 boats, one dismasted, and maybe one or two others that had struggles. Jeremy Bayou is third, has finished third, and down the list from there, I won't read them all, but the usual crowd, more or less, Pip Haredown in 9th, and Louis Burton in 10th. So again, you've got 1, 2, 3 women in the top 10, so bravo Zulu to them, to Pip and to Samantha, and to Justine Matreau, who's 8th. Samantha Davies in 6th. So nice representation of both sides of the aisle.
Yes, indeed.
That's not the right word. That was a mixed metaphor.
It was.
What would you say? Both genders? Both sexes? Right?
Okay.
Okay, enough of that. I've made a fool of myself again, Julia, but that happens regularly in this show. Let's get to the, go ahead. You were going to say something about me being a fool. I can hear it.
Not at all.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
I was just going to say not at all.
You're too kind. You are too polite. You're afraid that if you insult me, I won't drive you to your next doctor's appointment.
You got to be careful.
One has to be careful. The Olympics are coming up in 45 days. And we'll get to John Emmett's report here in a moment. But before that, there, as you also probably saw over the weekend, after the success of the rightist parties, the more conservative parties in the European parliamentary elections, President Macron has called a quick election in Paris, in France, at the end of this month. So this snap election, the mayor is saying, and of course the mayor's a socialist, saying it's extremely unsettling ahead of the Olympics. Paris mayor, and she is a political rival and Hidalgo of the president, Macron, on Monday described the prospect of French parliamentary election just weeks before the start of the Paris Olympics as, quote, extremely unsettling, while the International Olympic Committee played down, as they would, any direct impact on the event. There's President Macron, who's, he's a centrist. He's not exactly a right-winger by any means, but he's got some pressure from the right. Quote, like a lot of people, I was stunned to hear the president decide to do a dissolution of parliament, Hidalgo said of Emmanuel Macron's decision to call snap parliamentary elections. The decision was on Sunday, and they're going to take place here at the end of this month. The two-round parliamentary election has been called for June 30th and July 7th, with the Olympics set to begin only 3 weeks later on July the 26th.
Don't want to miss out from the headline news.
Well, exactly. So, the mayor's got herself some ink there. Well, it could be unsettling.
Yes.
Frankly, you never know what's going to happen, and you never know who's going to be out in the streets protesting and so on and so forth. But one person you're going to hear protests from. You're going to hear only good stuff, cool stuff from our super coach and super Fozy John Emmett in the Coaching Corner with his report today from the beach in Weymouth.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. Well, welcome to John Emmett's Coaching Corner. And I didn't want Tom to worry too much that I'm just stuck in my lounge. After all, they say motion is lotion. In other words, it's really good to do a bit of movement for the old joints. So I'm here on Weymouth Beach, just a little stroll. Actually, I think it makes it a little bit easier for me to record when I have lots of space. When I'm recording in my lounge, it's actually quite difficult with my mirrorless camera because I'm so tight. I've only bought one lens and it's difficult to find enough room to get myself so it's not overwhelmingly close. But there we go. In fact, actually, I need to be careful the other way around because if I record with a 3-meter selfie stick, then I take over or take out half the people working on the beach as they're not really expecting to have such a large sticky out thing. So it works both ways. I'm now walking down towards the dog section of the beach, which for historical reasons, and it is a long time ago, is the corner where we used to have Weymouth Olympic Week. And literally, back in the day before GBR was dominant in Olympic sailing, you just used to rock up, put your boat on the beach, and you win Weymouth Olympic Week, you go to Olympic Games. But obviously things are a bit different now, and everyone realises the importance of performance at international regattas. And 2024, it's a big year in terms of sailing, and a very exciting year. So we've got both the Olympic Games and the America's Cup, and there's a lot of technical aspects to these sports, and I'm going to be trying to cover that a little bit. But one of the big things is about having a winning mindset, and that's something I think I can really delve into, just to try and help people understand what part it plays in being successful. And it doesn't really matter what your goal is, whether your goal is building your homemade boat, getting that kit out and getting that boat finished and built as well as it possibly can be before the summer, or whether you're, Ben Ainsley and trying to get a trophy that's been very long eluding us. So yeah, there's lots of different parts of a winning mindset. I'm going to talk to you now about a growth mindset. Very easy to remember, G-R-O-W, grow. And the first thing is to have that really important goal, and we've talked about what makes a good goal before, but it's something that you really clearly define and you really clearly want. And after you've got that goal, you need to think about the reality of it, or the realistic part of it, and that's your R. O is for options, and I talk a lot about fitness just because probably it's the easiest part of performance to measure, and what options you might have. Well, you know, you could start running, you could buy a bike, you could join the swimming club. All these things are going to make a difference, but that's what you really need to think about. What are your options? Because the final part of grow, the W, is the most important. Do you have the will? Many people will have the will to go to the gym for the first 2 months of the year, but are they going to be willing to go to the gym for 8 months of a year? Are they going to be willing to go to the gym for 8 years in a row to get that peak level of fitness? Are they going to make the commitment? Do they have the will to succeed? And that's probably a question that you can all ask yourself, whatever your goal is.
I don't know, Julie.
Sail fast, sail safe, and have lots of fun.
I didn't want to step on John's conclusion there, and thank you, John, for that. But here I am still working at 70, and you're still working at 85. What's wrong with us?
We're having too much fun.
Graham Sweeney says success means you're retired at 45, not that you're still fighting to keep your career. Thank you, John Emmett. Thank you very much from the Coaching Corner. John Emmett, get to the front of the fleet. And we appreciate his reports. And I'm glad to see him out and about again, Julia.
Yes, and he's looking much better these days.
Motion is lotion, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get on here with our next little segment, which is an AAAA, following on with the Olympic theme. And of course, it wasn't strictly speaking an Olympic theme from John today, but Alistair has made a submission. He, Julia, has recorded, I think, 5 AAAAs all in a row. He's done, and he sent me the first one today with some slides. And he says that he'll probably get a finger wag from you.
Uh-oh.
So be ready. And here is Alistair's report for today.
G'day, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. This is AAAA, Alistair's Awesome Aussie Anecdote. I'm down at my property at Meetung, and it's an awful day out there. You can probably see the rain on the window behind me and the trees blowing around. It's a pretty horrible day, so I thought I'd sit down and catch up with a few AAAAs sitting in my comfortable chair here, because I'm falling a bit behind. Tom, so something you said about the other day about, I think it was about the lack of support for your Olympians, jogged my thoughts. And I thought I'd make this AAAA about our Olympic team and a couple of aspects. I'll send you a few photos to go with this, so this will support what I'm saying. Firstly, I thought you'd like some billboards, to see some billboards up around Melbourne. So Melbourne's a city of 4.5 million people. And here's a few shots of billboards that we currently have around the city promoting our sailing team. It's a pretty fair chance that a lot of people are going to see that, and it's a really good way of bringing the public up to date with the fact that sailing is a significant sport for us, and we have a team over there, and we're hoping to do well. Secondly, I just thought I'd send you a photograph of a smart, I'll pat myself on the back here, marketing idea I had. I think it was back in 2000, and we've been doing it for every Sydney, well, since Sydney, we're doing it for every Olympic team since, representing Australia. I sat down with my marketing team some years ago, and I thought, how can we show in a fun way some support, and you'll get the significance of the term support in a minute, for our team, but not in a way that contravenes any of the regulations about showing brand names and cutting across any marketing arrangements that were already in place. And we came up with the idea of Ronstan Lucky Undies for all of our Olympians, or for our sailors. And we started this tradition back in 2000. We've been doing it every Olympic since. We're doing it again this year, and the athletes absolutely love it. So here's a photograph of the box of undies just received by the Australian sailing team, and I thought for a bit of a laugh, because we put a bit of time into the rules, I'd just talk through the user instructions for these vital pieces of kit. So number 1, and you'll see this on the box, effective when worn on body or head. So not specifying where you need to wear these, but they should be smart enough to work it out for themselves. Number 2, air regularly to avoid unfavourable wind shifts. Number 3, a loose cover is recommended, even when pointing. I probably deserve a finger wag from Julia for that one. Number 4, use correct size to ensure adequate buoy room. It's now known as mark room, but to be correct, we put boy room or girl room, but from the original time for boy, which is actually buoy in America, which doesn't work that well. And number 5, follow garment washing instructions, or at least turn inside out by medal race. And number 6, and remember, the other sailors can kiss your ast. Being a double play, AST is the Australian Sailing Team, AST. So Tom, Julia and Olafosi, a little bit of fun, being a bit silly, but hoping our sailors have the best Olympics in a long time. Really, we're behind them. In fact, you could say we're supporting them in every way. Over and out for this week's AAAA. Cheers.
That's a good one, though.
AST. Cover your AST. What were you going to say when we were just going to that video? You were about to say something. You remember? Okay, no big deal. We can come back to it. But now, Julia, I have something else for us that's fun.
Okay.
There is a photo someone sent to me. That is Australia circa 1980. And that apparently on the left is Australia's answer to Harry Potter.
Uh-huh.
You know who that is?
Mm-mm.
Ted Ryman says, thanks, Alistair. Another cool AAA. Chris actually love it. Yes. It's what a great thing for a country to do. But look at this guy on the left. Any idea? John Emmett knows. Look on your comments. It's Alistair at age 27.
Oh, it is.
Harry Potter at a Ron Stan Christmas party. Greg Phillips knew. Chris Exley, Alistair ? Yeah, it's Alistair. And somebody, I won't say who sent that to me, but it was apparently on a Facebook page somewhere. Is that a cool picture or what?
It is, yeah.
I don't know who the gentleman is next to him. Alistair Potter, Ryman said. Okay, bravo Zulu. And again, what a cool thing.
Yes.
That the Australian sailing is doing by putting those billboards up.
Great.
Why, okay, there's some cost involved, and it's probably not that expensive, but why isn't U.S. sailing, why doesn't every sailing federation do that in their respective countries? Spend a few bucks to promote their team, put their sponsors for, if the team has some sponsors, maybe that breaks the NOC, the National Olympic Committee. Maybe that breaks the thing, the agreement thing.
I don't know.
With them. But cool stuff. And well done, Alistair, at age 27 or any other age.
Oh, and Alistair says the other guy is the Stan of Ron Stan.
Oh, really? Okay. So there was a Ron and there was a Stan. And as we know, the two of them formed the company back in the 50s? Alistair Murray's awesome Aussie anecdote. Ed Worley suggesting they could probably get the billboard time donated.
Well, that's
cool.
Probably right.
That's probably true, at least some. So
yeah, especially
nice
the
stuff.
ones that are empty.
nice, cool stuff.
Yeah.
Alistair, thank you. I really, what a great idea. Mm-hmm. Put a few billboards up in key places.
Yeah.
And promote the fact that there is such a thing as a sailing team. Not expensive.
At the Olympics.
At the Olympics, right?
All right.
Why didn't you think of that?
I should have.
You're smart. Okay. I think we should get into our feature today, which is the Finn Masters, the World Championship of the Masters going on
Look at that.
in this fabulous locale, Punta Ala. I've not sailed there. I've been there, but not sailed there. The Finn World Masters opened there yesterday, and the opening ceremony was Sunday. And it is a fabulous event. It got postponed from, it was going to be several years ago there, but it got postponed due to COVID. The 2024 Finn World Masters, they call it, has been opened at the Punta Ala Camp and Resort on the shores of the Gulf of, how do you pronounce that?
Falonica?
Falonica, well done. In Tuscany, Italy. Nearly 300 competitors, 284 boats to be precise, from 30 nations have completed registration ahead of yesterday's start of racing. And for those of you who are geographically challenged, Punta Ala is there on Italy's west coast, between Italy and Corsica. Sardinia being just below Corsica. And that is on the beautiful Bay of Falonica, and that is where they are racing yet again. Now, for Ed Worley will know this, for extra credit, what yacht club, the Punta Ala Yacht Club, what America's Cup challenge through the Punta Ala Yacht Club, or Yacht Club Punta Ala?
I guess I don't know.
I wonder if Ed Worley, Ed, do you know that on here? Il Moro.
Did they?
Yeah, challenge to the Punta Ala Yacht Club, or the Yacht Club Punta Ala, Prada.
Oh, that's
No, not Prada, it was Il Moro.
Il Moro.
Pretty sure it was Il Moro, Steve Gruber. Am I wrong, Steve? I think it was Il Moro. Electronic billboards are the breakdancing world masters. Replying to David James Urquhart, well, I don't know what all that's about. Yep. Okay, so I think it was Il Moro was challenging through that club. And let's go on and have a look at this event, because it looks like a fabulous event. They had great racing yesterday, Monday. It was a little light. I don't even know if they got racing off today, but the Sunday opening ceremony in front of, look at this is a way you run a budget regatta, especially in a place where you have nice weather.
Right.
So you can this is like the advantage of being in SoCal, 300 days of sunshine.
Yeah.
And nice weather, and Balboa Yacht Club puts a big tent up, and becomes the headquarters for the Governor's Cup.
Right.
San Diego Yacht Club can do the same thing as other clubs down there can do. But look at this fabulous, huge tent, nice opening ceremony. I have some video from it, but I won't play it now. But in the evening, Sunday night, most of the 300 sailors attended the opening ceremony, and welcomes from Thomas Dadi, the manager of that resort, or out of which they are racing, the deputy mayor, Susanna Lorenzini, and the president of the Finn World Masters, Andy Dennison, who I don't know but is an esteemed sailor from Great Britain. And the racing got underway on Monday, and the fabulous photos from Robert Deves, the class publicist. He also handles a few others. And it is there are dozens and dozens of photos. I've tried to pick the best ones. And next time, Boomer Bland, if you're watching, send me your favorite photos, because there are so many, and I hope I picked the favorites for many people. But after years of waiting in preparation, the 2024 Finn World Masters finally got underway at the Punta Ala Camp and Resort. In total, 8 group races. They've got 4. There are 8 groups, and they race in 4 fleets, and they mix them around so they all get to sail against each other. 8 groups were sailed in 4 fleets over 2 course areas, with Finns filling the Gulf of Falonica from one side to the other. So it's a big deal, and here is the video from yesterday with some audio. got to admit, those are nice sights
Yes.
and views.
Yeah.
John Emmett said he would have made 285. Our other Fozy, fin sailing Fozy, Luca Devoti, invited John to come sail. Said he'd get him a boat, get him sorted out. But John said, yeah, I think given his physical challenges right now, and he thought he was too light to go sail the fin.
Well, that's probably right. Yeah.
And the guys have settled. Steve Gruber was on the team. He said it was Prada. You're wrong. It was Prada, not Il Moro, that represented the yacht club Punta Ala. And that was before, obviously, Prada went down, because they're now representing the club down in, the name escapes me, down in Sardinia, down in Cagliari. So thank you for setting us straight, Steve Gruber.
Yes, indeed. That sounds better to me.
Some are, they're talking about the starboard ley line. Class main is made of Mylar with scrim. Well, it's Mylar, it's Kevlar, right? Kevlar, Mylar. And already 100 comments, Julia. Mm-hmm. John Emmett wondering how many Olympians are in the fleet. I don't know. And David James saying, I appreciate that they did not do the quick cut thing. For example, those approaching on port ley line to the weather mark, which is interesting. Alistair agreeing, what great racing. And Stingray saying, perfect music, had no idea how dramatic this event
Yes.
really is. It is. But look at this, nice pictures, and a great job, again, shout out to Robert Dees, because he also shoots the video and edits the video and puts the music on it.
Gosh.
And takes all these photos and writes the press releases. And he is a one-man band, and a good one at that. Just to wrap this up, the Masters president, the aforementioned Andy Dennison, who's a Brit, commented, quote, it doesn't get much better than this. The nearly 300 Finns enjoying sublime sailing in 30 degrees centigrade Celsius, 8 to 12 knots, launching from a gorgeous beach is about as good as it gets. And though the racing was challenging, it was a spectacular day to remember. This is yesterday, Monday. Mm-hmm. And again, there's so many people, and the standings, until they get closer down, they get into a gold fleet. I'm not going to worry about it. But Monsieur Hay from France is up in the top, and some of the usual suspects are doing quite well. The U.S. has got 3 or 4 boats in more or less the middle of the pack. But racing continues through this Friday the 14th, and we'll cover it. It'll be over, I'm sure, by the time we get live on Friday afternoon, because they're 9 hours ahead of us. And as John Emmett says, never look carefully at the results until the final 2 days.
Yes.
Interesting how the sails are cut all different, Thierry de Jong. Yeah, some are cross cut without those other vertical panels, the radial panels into the head. And in fact, the radial panels into the head and the tack and clew.
There are lots of different cuts on it, looks like.
Indeed. And cool stuff. Great class. And I also like, Julie, that they're calling themselves the former Olympic class. They're not embarrassed to have been excused from the Olympics. Mm-hmm. They're trading on that legacy.
Yes.
As well they should.
Yes,
do you
of course.
Agree?
I do.
Good.
As somebody has suggested, they may be much better off not being bound by Olympic rules.
Well, that's a perennial argument of whether the sport in general, mm-hmm. and classes in particular, are better off getting out of the Olympics. Mm-hmm. I mean, some classes, it will kill some classes. Yeah. It has killed some classes, yes. But not many. Other classes have flourished, and probably most will flourish. The FD class goes strong. They get 60, 70, 80, sometimes 100 boats. Mm-hmm. The Europe dinghy class is going fine. The Star class is going just fine, maybe better than ever. Maybe not quite better than ever, but, they're carrying on and going well, right?
Yep.
Okay, the 52 Super Series, where Lily is sailing.
Yes.
In the 52 Super Series in Newport, Rhode Island, being hosted by the New York Yacht Club. First time the 52s have raced there, but the first time the Super Series has raced in beautiful Newport, Rhode Island, home of the New York Yacht Club's Harbor Court.
That's such a grand building.
The Brown family mansion, that the club bought after both Grandpa and Grandma Brown passed away, and the kids didn't want to have to maintain it. Bought it in 1988, and it is a fabulous yacht club clubhouse up there on the hill on the south end of the harbor. And they had great racing, practice racing yesterday. And I've watched their 2 races today, dominated by Quantum Racing. But let's don't get ahead of ourselves. Yesterday, Sled Gladiator Gladiator won practice races, but the XS 52 Super Series Newport, Rhode Island Trophy title looks wide open. That it does. But they had, I hate to say it, Julia, champagne sailing conditions.
Yeah.
Or as we saw on Friday, who called it glamour sailing? Glamour sailing.
Yeah.
I like that. They call it. That's what they're saying in Barcelona. Glamour sailing conditions. So nice stuff. With the sea breeze today of between, this is yesterday in the practice racing, of between 15 and 20 knots, conditions were ideal for the final tune-up before racing starts today, Tuesday. 2 different boats won the practice races. Takashi Okura's Sled, who's sailing out of the historic host club, the New York Yacht Club, and Tony Langley's Gladiator won the other race. The British owner is also a member of New York and has enjoyed racing here in Newport for 5 or more years, raced out here in San Francisco as well. And over the 2 races, Quantum Racing, powered by American Magic, skippered by young Victor Diaz de Leon. Now, do you remember that name?
Yes.
He was the gentleman who was excused as wing trimmer from the USA Sail GP team. He's now sailing for steering this boat for Quantum Racing, powered by American Magic, and he won both races today.
Wow.
They won both races. Harry Melgus IV is steering. He's the quote-unquote skipper, so he's calling tactics. Harry is steering, apparently. Also proved they're poised to go one better than at the season opener, where they were second. May's 52 Super Series in Palma Vela Sailing Week, where they were runners-up to Ergen Imre's Provezza. So here are some screen grabs as I was preparing the show this morning. And these are screen grabs from the live television coverage on their YouTube channel. I commend it to you. The vision, the pictures, the video was terrific. The graphics are fine. And the commentary is relaxed and competent.
Wow.
It is very, very nice. They've got drones up in the air. This is racing out in Rhode Island Sound. This is not in the Bay. And the results of the first race, Quantum American Magic won. Value is Sled Platoon Aviation, and so on down. And then Quantum Racing also won the second, quite light air races, both. They were light-ish, a little more breeze in the first race. And then they called it off about 4:15 of the finish of the second race, maybe 3:15, I guess it was, as I was about 45 minutes before going live here. And Chris Exley saying the YouTube coverage, and again, you could just go 52 Super Series to their YouTube channel. And Chris agreeing their coverage was excellent. Andy Robertson does an amazing job. And there's the Vice Commodore, Claire Harrington, who sent me some photos that you may have seen on my Facebook page, rather. She said 8 to 10 knots. It looked a little lighter, a little softer than that, Claire, at the end of the second race. But you were out there on the water, and you would know better than I. Al Long asking which boat is Lily on.
And somebody says not even John knows.
Oh, he knows.
Steve Gruber said that he looked for it.
Guessing Alpha Plus, right?
Yeah.
That's what John, yeah. What do you mean you don't know what boat she's on? Is that right, John? Better track down your wife. You never know what kind of bad company she might be, or good company.
Yeah.
Okay. Home field advantage. Well, it's interesting, Clay Embley, because I saw any number of people have moved there and lived there. Cam Appleton lives there now. He's been living there for 17 years, almost 2 decades. And he is on one of these boats, and they thought, oh, well, he's got an advantage. You know what? Most professional sailors, of which all these boats are stocked with professional sailors, have sailed in Newport, Rhode Island, on and off, probably most of their careers. And with all the events that go on, such as New York's 170th annual regatta going on, as Claire Harrington, Vice Commodore Harrington, will remind us. And they've got, a huge fleet of the 37s. They've got lots of other boats racing. And, we worry about our sport, Julia, but the turnout for the 170th, New York's 170th, is big. There's a Sunfish North Americans going on in this country in Barnegat Bay. Is that where that's going on? It's either in the Chesapeake, I think it's in Barnegat Bay, and they've got almost 100 boats at the Sunfish North Americans. Yeah. And I can remember sailing in the Sunfish North Americans in 100-boat fleets, but that was back
100 years ago.
100 years ago. That was back in the 70s. So there's some, cool stuff, good stuff, and maybe the sport, at least in this country, and of course Australia, New Zealand, France, the UK.
And it is centered on clubs.
It is centered on clubs and the classes, and maybe there's some pickup here, as even in fleets, even in small boats as well as big boats. But bravo Zulu to this group. I'm glad they brought it over here, the 52 circuit, to the U.S. They're going to do another regatta later is it later this month, Claire, or is it next month? The 52s will do, I guess it's next month, isn't it? They do another regatta. So the sport is changing, but it's in great shape. John Emmett is saying, remember, bit difference between kit boats of the 60s and the higher performance boats we have now. Helmsman only steers, everyone else does their assigned job and little else. Yeah, Steve Gruber is spot on as usual. Okay, so much for our coverage of the Finns, and then of the 52s. We'll look into at both of those again this Friday when we pick it up again in show number 718. We're going to do a show Friday, Julia? When do we get a vacation?
You've already had a couple
I had a COVID vacation.
Yeah, I knew you had a couple of vacations.
COVID vacation. Exley says he just got his copy of There Is No Second. And Commodore Harrington, Vice Commodore Harrington, is saying that the 52s will race in July at Race Week at Newport, which has become, over the last, 15, 20 years, Claire, has become a deal. It's hosted by Rolex, New York Yacht Club Rolex event. Yes, we're doing a show Friday, John, don't worry. We are doing a show Friday. Now, for a little America's Cup news, and this is, you're going to like this. It's a little helter-skelter, but first of all, an AC-37 Cup date. In two videos that several of you sent me just before the show, and I'm going to play both of them. They're a minute and change. One is on this very cool kid who is a cyclor. Gosh, a cyclor.
Yeah.
What a name. Why do we have 4 cyclers on a sailboat?
Damned if I know.
And the kids, damned if any of us know, except ask Grant Dalton. He's a rower from Harvard who's very bright, and he's been working at either Facebook or YouTube, I think Facebook, as a coder. Shades of Zuckerberg, Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, yeah.
Dropped out of it. But this kid now said, watch the interview. It's really a cool interview from an American Magic cycler.
My name's Ethan Cedar, and I'm a cycler on American Magic. Before joining American Magic, I was a rower, like many other guys on this team, and rowed on the U.S. national team, and also for Harvard University. And professionally, I was a design engineer, a mechanical design engineer, working at Apple on the watch team. So I was really excited to come join a team where you could combine both your athletic history and your academic history and contribute towards a really challenging goal. The America's Cup is the oldest running trophy in all of sport. It is a design and sailing competition, so each team gets together its best designers and its best athletes, and together you design the best boat you can, then you execute that in a sailing plan. You spend years and years creating this perfect package that you think solves the conditions for the location, which for us is in Barcelona. The first race for the 37th America's Cup here in Barcelona happens August 22nd, and that's the preliminary regatta. This is going to be the first time that the newest generation of AC-75s are going to go head-to-head in a match racing situation, and we're all really excited because it's going to be the first time we get any real learnings and understanding of what's working well, what's not, and what do we need to improve. And as an athlete, and the first time I've ever participated in the America's Cup, it's going to be an awesome way to feel the excitement, the energy, the fans, and just the enthusiasm that goes into the incredible race that is the America's Cup.
Bright and articulate.
Wow,
huh?
yes.
That's kind of, I'll bet you was one take, and they just said, turn the camera on, and he went. And I think he did start out, I read a CV.
Yeah.
But you know me rushing around to put these shows together, and I read a CV, And I thought he started out at Facebook, and then he's obviously jumped then to Apple, and he was on the watch team. Your favorite Apple device?
Yes.
Are you getting a new one?
Yes, as long as they have one coming out, which is yet to be totally announced.
And you all decide whether we're going to call them cyclers or peddlers or cyclists or whatever, leg grinders. Okay, now this next one is, as you can see here, this is from the Inside Tack, not Track, Inside Tack podcast that Ineos Britannia puts out. Their episode 7 came out just before we went to air. Insights from coaches Xabi Fernandez and Chris Draper on the events of the 37th America's Cup.
It's the thing I think that makes sailing coaches and you two fascinating within our sport is how many different areas you have to coach. Like you have to try and get the boat to go faster. You have to talk to them about tactics. You have to talk to people about boat handling. Then there's the whole people management side of things. Then you've got to dive into the data and work with the design team. Like there is so many plates to spin within our sport. I think it makes it one of the more challenging sports to coach. It's so diverse, right, Zab?
It's a lot going on. Yeah, definitely. It's good, like at least in our case in Ineos Britannia, we have a good team, performance team, which help us a lot, Robbie and me. It's good we are 2 coaches here. We divide a little bit our jobs. Obviously, like Robbie's got more experience, especially with Ben, with the afterguard, and takes care a bit more about all this more tactics area, pre-start, all this real race preparation. And I guess I deal with more with, as you say, with more with the trimmers, with setup, with trying to work with the perf team, which is there to, they're way more smarter than us and they use the tools way better. And it's good. And we try every day before sailing. We try every day to have few bullet points before going sailing from the day before or whatever may be relevant for that day. And again, try to focus in certain points every day because it's important. It's, as you say, it's so much that you cannot focus in everything every day.
The perf team, and that is that is so important. I've said this on this show, I don't know, dozens of times probably, but as you all know, any of you who've ever sailed on one of these higher performance boats with a big design team, an engineering team, and all this stuff, the interface between the sailing team and the perf team, the performance team, is crucial.
Absolutely.
And the ability for the sailors to understand what the designers and engineers are saying and vice versa. When the sailors come back in and say, that didn't feel right. And same thing in Formula One. I learned that early on in Formula One when I was watching. I wasn't really part of the team other than to sell the sponsorship, make the sponsorship work, which was the second largest sponsorship in sport at the time, second only to Marlboro sponsorship of the Ferrari F1. So, it was a big job, but these guys, in terms of winning, have the really important job. We had 2 coaches on Oracle, too, all this time we were doing that. And you had a sailing coach coaching Jimmy Spithill, and you had then a rules coach, and you even had some performance guys that came in. And the interface between those two is the sailors and the tech team, the perf team, is crucial.
Yep.
Here's what happens. The sailing team comes in and says, well, the boat feels a little this. In the old days, in the 12s, it feels like it's got a little too much weather helm. And, maybe you ought to rake the mast back forward or move the butt of the mast forward or something. And the design team would go in and they'd say, those guys don't know what they're talking about. Instead, we will do this. We'll move something else and not tell the sailing team.
Yes.
And then the sailing team will go out and say, oh, that was great. And they'll, cogitate on that. They'll make a decision based on what they think the design team did. And if you don't have full and open communication and people like Russell Coutts, who are engineers, who can speak and understand the design language and the engineering language, you are screwed with a capital F. Yeah. Especially if the 2 teams don't tell each other honestly what they think and what they're doing. And the design team will come back and say, well, here's our data. You guys, you're steering terrible. you're steering wrong. Oh, no, I'm not. It's your damn boat.
I've been here before.
Okay. One of the key elements in a successful team is open and honest communication between the sailors and design. Ed Worley knows he's been on an America's Cup team or 3 along the way. John Emmett, both Zabi and Chips were amazing 49ers sailors, yes. And John putting in a plug for coaching. That is why coaching is fantastic. Lily will be racing on the Farmaxi 80 Vettel. Okay, so she's not in the 52. She's racing in what looks like the New York Yacht Club Regatta. Bravo Zulu to Ineos for that video, and also to American Magic for the previous one. I think they were
Yes,
both.
they're both good.
Don't you agree?
Yes.
Terrific videos. Now, a little more America's Cup news, courtesy of Stingray. Here is the locks in the Pacific end, and coming from the lower left is the boat on which you will see, I'll play it again. You can't really see it, but the boat coming from the lower left and going to the top is Baltic Spring, carrying New Zealand's America's Cup 75. That was 4 days ago. That was June 7th, and today's the 11th, right? So they're 4 days into they're probably almost out the other end. How long does it take to go through the canal? How long does it take to go through the canal, y'all?
Less than a day.
Okay. I think it's longer than that. Anyway, they may be well and truly through the canal by now. So Stingray is going to focus on that for us. He doesn't have the AIS professional. You have that, don't you?
I do.
Professional prescription,
Yeah.
Subscription. You better go check that out for him. So they're into not only are they into the canal, they didn't have to wait for that 35 boat backlog. They got in, and so bravo Zulu to them. And I am told, one hears they are expected to arrive in Barcelona on the 20th of June.
Wow.
Which is what? Not too long hence. That's 9 days from now, right?
Mm-hmm.
The cool thing about sailing is that it is not one or two dimensional. Strategy, tactics, physical performance, physics, aeronautics, etc., leadership. Very good training for a young person. Yeah, just like that video at the top of the show, David. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
1 or 2 days, Steve Gruber says, to get through the canal. Yesterday, the Baltic Spring was between the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. So she is well and truly exited and headed out in the open ocean. I guess that's what he means by the DR and the PR. Is that right? Okay. Speaking of the book, several of you have gotten it, and this is Graham Sweeney's edition of the book. He sent that photo along. So they are out there. We have ours. Julie, are you reading yours?
I've only gone through it preliminarily.
Well, here's mine back here, and I have only thumbed through it.
I've seen, I've got a view of the chapters and how he's doing it, and just begun that. So it makes the reading of it a little bit easier.
Fabulous book. I commend it to you.
Yes.
Everyone else is saying the same thing.
Yes.
Get it.
Yep.
Get the book. Magnus Wheatley's There Is No Second, about the first America's Cup in 1851, and one hears he may have another book in the pipeline.
Yes.
About this cup. Wouldn't surprise me.
Somebody said that.
One little bit. Now, before we leave the America's Cup, we have a correct or crutonic about the host country.
Oh, yes?
The defending country. Actually, not the host country. I don't know if you all saw, did you see the back and forth about the financial, the economic impact reports that came out of New Zealand, where they said they lost a lot of money because of COVID and so on during the last Cup down there, the 2021 Cup.
Mm.
And there's this big, fabulous report that's just come out about how they lost $1 billion in New Zealand and they're going to make $1 billion in Barcelona. That's the report that just came out. I don't believe it. They always get these puffed up reports to get the public all, lovey-dovey for the thing. But that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what's going on in New Zealand. and whether or not this is correct or Croutonic, because the report that came out yesterday in the Telegraph and Beyond, AFP, is that the former PM Ardern's legacy is unraveling as New Zealand scraps the cow, to put it politely, the burp tax. Remember, she and her government were going to tax the farmers. And remember, New Zealand is an agricultural, I mean, they have a huge agricultural economy, right?
Right.
She was going to tax all the farmers and their cows.
Yes.
Former Prime Minister's livestock, now they're still being polite here in the Telegraph, flatulence tax,
Yes.
which is loathed by farmers, is to be scrapped by the end of the month.
Terrific.
And the AFP is report. I love that picture. I had to run the picture in the show, Julia. The cow licking its lips. Huh?
Yep.
New Zealand. Now this is a much better headline. New Zealand scraps plan to tax livestock burps, farts, according to the French press agency.
Yeah.
New Zealand's centre-right government said today, it is scrapping a scheme to price greenhouse gas emissions from livestock. Price? A scheme to price. Oh, okay. Squelching a so-called burp tax. New Zealand will be introduced to, new legislation rather, will be introduced to Parliament this month to remove the agriculture sector from a new emissions pricing plan, it said. Quote, the government is committed to meeting our climate change obligations without shutting down Kiwi farms, unquote, said Agricultural Minister Todd McClay.
Yes.
A fart tax. Now, is this, I'm not asking if the tax is correct or Croutonic, is the scrapping of that tax. Is that the right thing to do? Is it correct? Or is it Croutonic, Julia?
Oh, it's got to be correct.
Why?
Because nobody's ever really measured the flatulence or burp.
You can say
emissions.
it. Cow farts. How much fun is that?
Yeah.
When did anyone think on Sailing Illustrated we'd be talking about cow farts
Oh, gosh,
and
you never
burp?
know. I mean, and Ed really says, how do we tax all the gas coming out of the politicians? You know? I mean, I think that's a real question.
Well, but aren't you worried that their climate goals are not going to be met, and that we're going to have climate warming, we're going to have global warming and climate change because of the cows farting and burping?
No.
Julia, Ted Ryman blames the vegans for the fart tax. Is it correct or Croutonic? Alistair Murray says only in New Zealand. What's it going to cost for the fart monitors? Steve Gruber. Greg Phillips agrees, scrap it. Yeah, methane. Alan Long is saying fart tax, Croutonic. Does Ardern burp a lot too? Stingray is saying. Chris, actually a progressive idea that time will tell whether it makes sense, Croutonic, to scrap it. So Chris likes the idea, thinks it should not be scrapped. Ed really thinks it's correct to scrap it. Peter Taylor in New York City saying the Wall Street Journal actually did a piece on methane emissions years ago. Methane is actually a problem there. Well, you have one volcano eruption in Iceland or in the South Pacific, and you can change the world's temperature for years, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I had to put that in. Excuse me, but scrapping the fart tax, is it correct or Croutonic? I had to ask the Fozy because I had to know what you think. You know, we just had to know. Julia, enough of all that. We're an hour and 15 minutes into the show, and it gets us to the last leg. A little bit shorter show than usual. And just a reminder that we've got Sail GP coming up in not too long in New York City, but it was announced yesterday overnight. I guess it was announced today in Europe this morning before I woke up that Sail GP is going to Geneva. They will have a Swiss Grand Prix next year, the 20th and 21st of September.
Oh, good.
2025. And of course, with Rolex as a big sponsor of Sail GP, and with Rolex based in Geneva, no surprise that they will have a GP, a Sail GP there next year. And just a reminder of the standings, the season championship, the Kiwis are on top by 11 points with 2 events to go, the New York event and then here the grand finale in San Francisco. Diego Botín in second on 72 points. Tommy Slingsby and his Aussie team a close third, 1 point behind Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like the 3 of them will probably get through to the finals, but there are 3 other teams, at least 3
Really
other
close,
teams,
yeah.
maybe 4 teams in the hunt. Certainly Quentin Delapierre's France team, Nikolai Sehested's Rockwell Denmark team, and Emirates GBR on the strength of their win. Giles Scott's got that team going. And Phil Robertson's the Canadian team. Yeah, maybe, but I think that's probably it for getting into the final 3 here in San Francisco. But we'll see what happens in New York.
And for the first time in SailGP history, the 1 second to go.
In 11 days' time, 22nd and 23rd of June, SailGP New York.
That's turnaround.
Just a program note. I was thinking about doing a watch party for, I can't do it for the San Francisco event because I think I'm going to be over there doing commentary for St. Francis Yacht Club again this year on the race deck to the crowd assembled within the club.
Yeah.
We've done that the last couple of years, and I think that's happening again. I'm not 100% sure, but that's...
Can't stick a microphone up?
Well, no, I don't think you can put that live stream, the commentary. I think that would not be correct. But I'm thinking about doing a watch party for the New York event, and we can all watch it on our own devices, and then we'll put a Zoom up and stream it live, and everybody can come on the Zoom, and we can comment with each other.
We'll try it.
Just to try it. I've seen that used in a couple other sports now. We won't stream on our live stream the feed coming out of New York from SailGP, but we will stream our Zoom of all of you in your little boxes, and one of you has a big comment, a main comment, an important comment. We'll zoom in a speaker view, as they say on Zoom, instead of gallery view. What do you think of that? Do you think that's a good idea or not? Let us know. But maybe for New York, we will try that on one of those days, either Saturday or Sunday, and just not this coming weekend, but the following weekend in New York. That gets us to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot in the D block. Thanks to all of you who made submissions. We had a bunch of submissions. We will laugh here. These are good, Julie. These were all really good. The first one is from our good friend up in Estes, Colorado, longtime sailing friend Joe Holtzman, who says, beware of smartphone zombies. And it is astonishing when you get out and about. Everybody's got a phone in their hand. And, you know, you are the classic millennial. You got your phone there on the desk, don't you?
Yes.
Right in front of you.
Yes.
And in the whole time you're down here before the show, you come down about noon and you're here for an hour or so, you're on the phone.
But that's because I don't have other times to do it. I haven't been on the internet at all this morning. So
poppycock. You love to be on your phone, and you've got the biggest case of FOMO of anybody I know. Beware of, and I'm not being critical of you because I do it too. Everybody does it. Thank you for that one. Now, as if Claire Harrington, she every time she comes across, and in fact, people must now be sending these to her so she can forward them to me. We got yet another accordion joke. The quickest way to end a siege at a castle is to send an accordion inside over the wall. Gordon Smith thinks it could be fun to have a Zoom watch party. Only 1 in 4 men are actually happy. You see which one?
Yeah.
That's from Dolly Devola down in Australia. I like that one a lot. And I also liked this one, Julia. It's okay if you don't like sailing. it's kind of a smart people sport anyway.
Aha!
Huh?
Yes.
You agree with that?
Oh, yes.
And it is.
Yeah.
And it's not, as I like to say, as I've said any number of times, sailing is not for everyone, but it is for anyone.
Yes.
My dad has, and he's still around. He's not late grade. He's still alive and kicking and working all day, every day, running our club back in Michigan.
Yeah.
And he always said, to sail, you have to be mentally and physically agile. You got to be reasonably bright just to get the boat off the dock, get the sails up. And if you're not, you're going to go out and hurt somebody or hurt yourself or worse.
Yeah.
If you don't like sailing, it's okay if you don't. It's kind of a smart people sport anyway. Now, is that elitist?
Well, it depends on who you are. Because if you are an elitist, it is. And if you're not, it doesn't matter.
Good answer from somebody who went to Stanford. Thank you, Ted Ryman, for sending that one along. And then finally, our last little Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Oh, Lord, have mercy upon my soul, he's praying. I went cruising on a power boat. God forbid. You know, I've seen these cartoons where they were catamarans.
Well, that's a painting in the St. Francis Yacht Club.
But is it a power boat or is it a catamaran?
No, it's a power boat.
It is? I went cruising on a power boat and liked it. That's from Greg Phillips, who's on watching from Australia. Thank you, Greg, for that. Thank you to all of you who sent us those things. And by the way, one guy who probably likes cruising on a power boat is this crouton. The non-sailing CEO. See how I did that? Worked that in. Right at the end of the show. This non-sailing CEO has got to go. The sooner the better. And the board that supported that lawsuit ought to go as well.
Steve Gruber has a comment. I know great sailors that are not so smart and geniuses that are not good sailors.
Well, I think that's true. I don't think those are mutually exclusive. But I think most great sailors are pretty smart. And they may not be academically smart, but I think they're streetwise.
Situationally aware.
And as Buddy Malgus always said, get your head out of your cockpit. Get your head out of your cockpit. You could hear him shouting to junior sailors. When I was up there sailing as the mystery guest in the, was it the C or the C or the E blue chip? I can't remember. He followed me around and said, get your head out of the cockpit. Because you're down, you're looking at all the controls. And you can't. You got to look up the track. You got to be a television director planning your next shot, not looking at the current shot, which is what I do here, which is why you see my eyes wandering around. I'm figuring out what is my next shot going to be. It's going to be the...
Well, you do that.
It's going to be the comments. Clink, ding, ding, cheers, nicely done. I'm out of booze, Sweeney said. Well, it's late over there in Scotland. Graham, you can be out of booze. And Ryman's got a picture of a beer mug there. As we get to the finish line, Julia, and you like to say...
Yes, don't miss the opportunity to like, follow, and share.
There, I put your slide up, you see. I finally hit the button to get it up there for you. Yeah, and we leave comments open, even in replay, as most of you who are regulars on here will know, because the comments are key to this show. There are very few YouTube videos, unless they don't do comments unless they're live, and very few are live. And the whole reason we do live is because we love the FOSI and we love the comments. It makes the show. It makes it so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, I agree.
Hence the expression, get your head out of the boat, Emmett is saying. Too early for a drink, Alistair is saying, well, what time is it down there? It's 07:26 on a Wednesday morning. Thanks for another great show. Thank you, Alistair, for your AAAA submission. Pierre DeYoung, thanks, and happy Father's Day coming up, right? Coming up this Juneteenth is this week, and Father's Day is this coming weekend. Of all of you who are fathers, thanks again to all of you who support us via Patreon. Become a patron at patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. And thanks also always to those who give us video and images and audio for these shows. Julia, any final thoughts?
One of the things I think about when I say share your video is that
Share the stream.
the stream. Yeah, but how many people are aware who they stream it to? Meaning, and who they'd like to stream it to, and who they could stream it to.
Well, that's right. Just share it to your own page, and then all of your friends get to see it and beyond. Yeah, it's good. It helps us. It does help us. Thanks again, everybody. We hope you have a great rest of your week wherever you are in the world. And if you can go sailing, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.